and welcome to episode 12 of the Talent Intelligence podcast. Today we have Laura Holcombe, Global Talent Acquisition Specialist at Reach Desk, joining us. Hi Laura, how are you today?
Hi, yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for having me. Very excited. First podcast.
We are delighted to have you here. And I'm also joined by Nikki, who is Head of Business Growth here at Solutions Driven. Hi Nikki, how are you?
Claire, Laura, good to see you guys.
Great.
I'm very well, thank you.
Glad to hear it. So Laura, we obviously started chatting a couple of weeks ago. We have been talking to Reach Desk about potentially using the product in Solutions Driven, and we connected on LinkedIn. And I obviously saw some of your not controversial, but conversation starting posts, and we've been chatting a bit back and forth. Do you want to tell me a little bit about Reach Desk and a little bit about what it is that you do there?
Yeah, totally. So Reach Desk is a B2B SaaS sending platform. So we make it really, really easy for businesses to be able to send direct mail globally at scale. And in terms of what my role at the business, so I work in the talent team. I'm a talent acquisition specialist. So I focus on global marketing recruitment, as well as commercial recruitment in the UK. So really focusing on everything that isn't kind of very senior salespeople. I'm really lucky to have been given the opportunity to kind of dip my toe in a lot of different things. I'm also, I'm trying to build a little bit of a personal brand of LinkedIn and kind of educate people on LinkedIn about Reach Desk and, how it's an amazing company to work for and, our culture as well. So that is what I do.
In terms of your career to date, talk us through that. What's your last few years been like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very public about the fact that my 20s, I say they were a dumpster fire. It's to be completely honest, I just had a really rough time. I had really poor mental health. I just didn't really understand the world, really. It just took me a while to kind of get in my groove, I think. So yeah, when I was in my 20s, I was doing loads of different roles. I would consider them to kind of be a bit dead end, to be honest, in sales, marketing, and customer service. And then I fell into recruitment. I feel like everyone says this and it's so boring, but I genuinely did. This opportunity came along to join a small agency in Norwich as one of the first employees. So I think I was actually number 2. And I started off in recruitment probably just thinking it was just going to be another job, but then really I found it to be the absolute love of my life. I absolutely am so passionate about it. I love it. And I think, because when I worked in this small agency, we were very much growing it. We only had literally 2 recruiters. So I was thrown in at the deep end, and I recruited everything from entry level all the way up to C-suite with it, literally as soon as I started. I just went by what I thought was right in terms of recruitment and how I would want to be treated. And yeah, so, I had a really great time at the agency and built up a really strong skill set. But then I realized that I actually wanted to be part of, helping talent be an intrinsic part of a business and in terms of helping them scale. So that's why I started to look into moving in-house, because I wanted to have that strategic insight into, the business and helping it grow, basically.
I think just to jump maybe back a little bit, because a lot of our viewers are leaders and C-suite and executives, but there's a lot of there's quite a lot of salespeople that will follow us as well, and a lot of people just starting in their career. And I think what they always think of leaders is they have everything figured out. That they know exactly where they want to go, that there's this one path that they can go on. Yeah. And I think if anything over the last few years, people now look back on their careers and say, well, all of these choices I made there took me to this one. And, the SDR, AE sales path isn't necessarily for everyone either. There are different ways you can go. I think most of the people I have spoken to have fallen into recruitment as well. My wife was telling me to stay out of recruitment. But like you, definitely glad I've done it.
Yeah, it's such an incredible kind of amalgamation of skills that you need to have to be successful. Not only have you got to be a really good salesperson, you've got to be very empathetic, you've got to understand people, you've got to manage stakeholders, you've got to understand a complete recruitment market, you've got to understand business strategy. It's so much more than just hiring people. And I think that because of the outside opinion being, oh, it's just hiring people, that's why people don't necessarily consider it as a career, from the outset. No, I don't think many people at uni are like, I want to be a recruiter when I graduate, but they should. They really should. It's just the most rewarding, amazing career. I mean, you get to tell people they've got their dream job a lot of the time, and it's just incredible. So yeah, it really should be seen as a valid career. I mean, obviously it's valid. That's a bit of a weird thing to say, but it should be seen as a sought after career. Because you can be incredibly successful, you can really climb up the ranks. You're not always, there's so many different options. If you're someone who wants to be an individual contributor, you can have an incredible career where you are earning a lot of money doing that. If you want to move up through management and you want to help build businesses and help scale your startups, is what I'm passionate about. You can do that. There's just so many different things you can do. You can be really niche, you can be super general. Yeah, it's like a million different careers in one.
100%, yeah. And I think as well, there is the kind of old school recruiter, like Wolf of Wall Street, like just throwing over CVs and stuff. But people like you are the kind of people who are going to make recruitment seem like a viable career option. It is something that you have to have so many different skills for, and you get to hone so many different skills. And if you're passionate about it, like you get to tell people that they've got their dream job, and it's like an amazing day every time you do it.
And the people you learn from, I mean, think about it, right? If you're hiring, well, I mean, everyone is amazing to learn from, but some of the roles that I really enjoy speaking to like very senior people in business and learning insights from them, and just getting to be exposed to all these different people. And also within a business, like I was talking to one of my colleagues and saying, I know pretty much everyone at Reach Desk because either I've hired them or, okay, that's a gross overestimation, but I've hired a lot of them, or I work with them on a daily basis. So I really do get to know the company beautifully, compared to if someone's just working in one department and focused on that, they might not be able to get to work with all these different people as well. So that's one aspect of it, which is, again, incredible, along with everything else.
Awesome.
You talk pretty passionately about Reach Desk, obviously. So how did you come to join them? Why did you come to join them? And I guess you've been there for a while. What's making you currently stick around there as well?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I'm part of the furniture at this point because I've been there for nearly a year. Funnily enough, I came across Reach Desk because I've been friends with the VP of marketing at Reach Desk, Christy, for about, I say friends, we went to school together, and then we really didn't like stay in touch after that too much, but we'd basically come across each other again on LinkedIn. And so I saw that she joined, and honestly, this was at the time when I was planning my next move, and I was, I really had never heard of Reach Desk. I had no idea what they did, but I heard Christy talk so passionately about it, and she was so excited, and I was just like, kind of jokingly, I was just like, do you have any recruiter roles by any chance? And then she was like, actually, we do. And so I live in Norwich right now. I'm moving soon down to London, but I was like, oh, but I don't live in London. Like, is that going to be a problem? And it wasn't. And so that's how I kind of got introduced into the business. So yeah, I feel very lucky because, it's not often that happens. Like, they say it's all about who you know. I don't believe that's the case, but yeah, I was very lucky in this situation, essentially. To be part of this business. So in terms of what kind of kept me sticking around, well, I haven't been there for very long. So, in the grand scheme of things, there's still a lot for us to do. It's an incredibly exciting, high growth environment to be in. So, we've scaled the team 300% in the past 7 months. Going from about 75 employees when I joined in May to over 200 now. So that's just incredible. I get to work on a really wide variety of roles, but I think the most important thing is the people. The culture is just absolutely unrivaled, just so people focused. People are at the heart of everything we do. Our leaders are some of the most inspirational people I've ever met. Like Alex Ollie is just, you know, I would highly recommend anyone listening to this who's interested in sort of ABM and account-based experience as well, to go and have a look at him and you know, the things that he's saying. But yeah, you know, it's just like, oh, so cliche, but it is a family, it really is. And so yeah, I really feel like I'm part of something special at Reach Desk, which is such a nice position to be in after, like I said, not enjoying any job that I ever had before recruitment.
I think it's interesting, you know, the passion clearly comes through, right? And I think, you know, we work with a lot of large multinationals, but we work with a lot of startups and scale ups too, and the experiences are vastly different. It's a totally different person that's required to, you know, do everything that it takes to make a startup successful and ride that wave and the ups and the downs and all the moments. I think there has been quite clearly a lot of hype about Reach Desk. You know, I've seen it in action. I've been gifted myself. You know, and there's been a few things you've mentioned so far that I'll maybe come back to later. But you mentioned, you know, you need to be that kind of a salesperson. It doesn't sound like you have to oversell Reach Desk, right? Which always helps, because there's lots of startups out there. There's lots of choice. So I guess, what is it about Reach Desk, or what is it about just the demand for corporate gifting that's making your job that little bit easier, that's making Reach Desk that bit more appealing?
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, first thing I have to say, you've been Reach Desked if you receive a gift. You have to say, I've been Reach Desked.
Oh, apologies.
Hashtag Reach
I've had two. I've been doubly Reach Desk.
Yes, double desked. So yeah, basically, I think like corporate gifting, I'll just kind of start off with that. I mean, so corporate gifting's been around for donkey's years, you know. It's always been something that's been used.
A Christmas hamper or basket or something.
Yeah, exactly. And the return on investment has always been very strong when you've been able to track it. But I think the historic problem with scaling something like direct mail, well, there's a few things, right? There's just having the manpower of putting together, you know, multiple different packages. And so, I mean, you could even be going to the thousands, right? The amount of time it actually takes to put that kind of stuff together, the logistics of getting it sent out. But yeah, the return on investment, you know, being able to track data, you know, any marketer worth their salt nowadays will not be doing anything unless they can fully track it with data. So you can see how direct mail has basically kind of been something that's almost been, you know, it's been shunted off to the side as something that isn't, you know, applicable in modern marketing. But what Reach Desk has done is, you know, taken something that used to be a gigantic pain in the butt, but enabled marketing teams to harness direct mail on a daily basis as part of their campaigns, or, you know, as part of their overall marketing mix. You know, taking it from something that was, you know, very, very high cost, very, very high labor intensity, and made it so that within 3 clicks of a button, you can send a hyper personalized, like massive scale direct mail campaign to thousands of people globally. You know, it's incredibly cool. I think the recent surge in popularity, or, you know, why we've experienced so much growth, is we're in a very saturated market in general when it comes to, like, specifically in like B2B SaaS. Everyone's
in general.
Everyone's trying to sell to one another, you know, like all of the inboxes are completely stuffed full. There's a lot of digital noise. And so, you know, if you use Reach Desk to try, you know, because there's so many use cases for Reach Desk as well. It's not just prospecting. I am a massive advocate for it in recruitment, which I'll go on to in a second. But, you know, what Reach Desk enables you to do is really cut through that digital noise, you know, introduce a human touch point in that relationship building. So, you know, you're just, well, yeah, literally cutting through the noise, making people feel good, and they're going to remember that. And, you know, I don't know how you guys felt when you received your Reach Desk, but, you know, when I first got my first one, and I worked for the company, I knew it was coming, you know, like I was just like, oh, it's so nice. Like, I've got a bottle engraved with my name on it. I'm never going to throw that away. You know, that kind of
personalization, that moment.
Yeah, you know, and it's almost kind of it's like how B2C marketers do it, right? You're trying to attach an emotion to your brand, right? You're trying to gain that loyalty. And so it's almost like we're introducing this as a tool for B2B marketers to do something similar. It's not going to be identical, but so yeah, I think that's fueled our growth. And then, on top of that, we're living in such a distributed world now, right? Remote working has become, which I'm obviously a huge advocate for, remote working has become more of a norm. It's easy to see people and give them praise, say in the office, or, so utilizing Reach Desk, in this more distributed world has enabled those relationships to continue to grow and to continue to, flourish. So yeah, multiple points as to why we've grown. And honestly, it's so funny because it's not funny, but the pandemic happened, and which obviously is not funny, but with the pandemic happening, and we're called Reach Desk, right? We had to pivot really, really quickly to being able to send stuff to people's homes, and we did it through just a really simple feature of address confirmation that doesn't reveal what gift someone's going to get, but still, enables us to reach them.
It creates that level of intrigue, because I think now if ever mail comes through my front door, I think it's a bill of some kind, an invoice for something, because I don't really receive much of that anymore. And even though I knew that gift was coming from the email, you don't know what it is. So that level of intrigue is still there.
Exactly. And so I think there were questions around, well, what are you going to do? You're called Reach Desk and nobody's at their desk anymore. But it's we've actually, I think, had more of an impact given what's happened, because people have seen the need for something like this, or for a really easy way for you to build relationships and reintroduce that human touch into what you're doing when there's distance, or when there's kind of space between you.
Yeah.
You haven't been able to take people out for dinner. You haven't been able to meet your clients and have them up to your office. So it's that kind of way of getting a bit of human touch in there without actually being face to face. Yeah, definitely. So all this growth and all this, obviously 300% in the last while. How has that affected talent acquisition, your department? What's been your biggest challenges, I suppose, and what's annoyed you most in the last few months about the growth that's been happening?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've always worked in a very, very intense environment where there's lots going on, so it didn't seem like crazy to me in terms of the workload, or it obviously was significant, but it's what I thrive on, this kind of thing. So I really enjoyed it. I think the main, the market is very difficult at the moment. Nobody can deny that, in terms of it being just very, very candidate driven. I think that what I've done in order to support this incredible success that we've had is just be really robust in my personal process. It's really funny because I can see behind Nikki, it's like you've stolen my process, even though that's like written on a wall. But I do very much hire in that framework, essentially. But yeah, I think it's really, really important that before you even get a process started, that you're mapping the market. I like to identify an ideal candidate profile and an ideal company profile. So you're looking at the types of companies that, technographics is a major thing that I look at. What tech stack is a company using? What are they doing day to day? And if it's similar, for a certain role, it's probably going to align quite well with us. Just really making sure that before you even get started, that you are 100% clear on what you're looking for. And then just, I think that I'm quite robust with my hiring managers and my stakeholder management in terms of just making sure that recruitment is a priority and that stuff's just moving forward. Because, one of the major things that's been a huge challenge, and I guess I wouldn't say annoys me, it's just, recruitment in general, right? You can't really get annoyed because it's people. But, it's just so many people have so many offers, so many things going on, so many irons in the fire that, it has been a challenge to move people through the process fast enough sometimes.
So, look, quite clearly you're really enjoying the role. There's lots of roles spinning, lots of different roles, seeing so many different aspects. You talk about a robust process. My process is up there so I don't forget it more than anything else. But for us, I think completely agree. We are a company ourselves that like to dedicate a resource to a specific job, not overload recruiters, give our recruiters the time it takes to go and go through that robust process. And then, role to role, every candidate is going to be different, right? So like you say, being aligned with the hiring managers on what they're after and, the type of candidate you're looking for is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
I think what stood out to me and doing a little bit of research about yourself, and you mentioned your LinkedIn brand before, but you said the word, I think it was candidate champion, bringing the human touch back into recruitment. And I think there are a lot of people that don't realize it's people dealing with people.
Yes.
It's people's livelihoods at stake. It's huge career decisions. It's big business decisions waiting on that candidate coming back to you or not coming back to you. Are they telling me the truth? Are they not? Are they really interested in this role? And I think there are a lot of emotions in recruitment that people just don't realize. So maybe talk us through that. You're bringing the human touch back to recruitment, and I guess, what are the parts of that process that you really like, and then the parts that frustrate you a little bit?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, yeah, I mean, I think because when I came into recruitment, I never really went through any kind of formal training, right? So my approach is just I do things in a way that I would want to be treated in a recruitment process. So I've been told that I'm a breath of fresh air. I don't really know what that means, but basically I put all of the focus on the candidate. I put all of the focus on, in that initial call, I'm talking to them and I'm really trying to figure out what they want. And if this role actually aligns, I spend a lot of time selling the opportunity to them. Just generally put a lot of time into that process. I will prep people for interview. I will spend half an hour purely to prep them and to give them an idea of the types of things that we're looking for, and just to put them in a position where I don't like the fact that some interview processes, it's like you're testing their ability to memorize stuff more than like how well they're going to fit in this business. So in general, I think the reason people find me refreshing is because of the amount of time I put in, because I will update people even if there's no update. I will just be completely straight up with people. There is no pretense, no
BS.
Yeah, there's no BS. That's a good way of putting it. And I really do try and champion that candidate. And so I think, some the things that kind of get me, I'm not even upset's a strong way of putting it, but I am generally quite an emotive person. But I've had candidates in the past where I've got them through this whole process and I really, really worked hard for them. And, they just send me an email 30 minutes before that final interview to withdraw. Or I will have put them through this whole process, and they're and this can happen sometimes when they're the top pick, and everything they've ever said to me throughout the process is, I'm really, really engaged. And, I've had other candidates make you wait 2 weeks for a final decision. And it's just, sometimes I think that they forget that there are people who are putting a lot of time into this process.
They also don't realize the impact that then has, because I mean I've been there myself, right, where you've got, or you see the company, they have maybe a 5-person shortlist, but there's a number one, there's a front runner, there's somebody that they want, and the minute they can't have that person, they think let's just go back to market and find another one. The reason they are a number one is because of X, Y, Z. And it's not just, you can't just find carbon copies of them, but like you say, the emotions of that. You feel that you're letting people down, the mental health aspects of that, as well, that can really trigger things off. There's lots of stuff at play, and I think.
Yeah, literally, you think that you're not a good recruiter or you haven't done a good enough job, and I think it's particularly, for me, I find it particularly difficult because you see so much about candidates on LinkedIn and stuff saying, I've been ghosted, I didn't get feedback, and I really work hard to be the complete antithesis of that. I will never just email someone. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not perfect. Sometimes people slip through the cracks, very rarely. But there may be the odd occasion where I've been really late on feedback, or maybe, I've just dropped the ball on a very, very small number of occasions, right? But, as someone who takes it very seriously, that I need to provide good feedback, I need to speak to people on the phone, to just receive an email after what can sometimes have been 4 or 5 hours of us working together on this role, it just seems like they're not really, sometimes like they're expecting loads from us and they're not giving back the same kind of consideration, you know. But this is such a minor thing. It is really a very, very small number of candidates, but you know, that's just one of the things, the gripes I have. But I think also that could be solved by really having much more education around the fact that a recruiter is really your partner in that process. They want you to get that role, you know. They want, you know, they want to help you as much as they can. That is their job, and so, you know, it really should be seen as much more of a partnership. Because also, if you don't get that job and you're working with an agency like you guys, for instance, they will work really hard if you've been an amazing candidate to place you elsewhere. It's all networking. It's all gonna, you know, really good positive relationships that you build will help you further down the line. You might not know how, but they will.
So, I mean, our founder, Walter, who's been in business 40, 50 years, you know, started solutions driven and made it quite clear right from the get-go, and still today, you know, treat the candidate as number one. And almost, if you even think about treating candidates better than you even treat clients, I'm not saying we don't treat clients well, but if you take care of your candidates, that's where your future clients will come from. And I'm amazed, you know, the amount of people that will start at one company or be a hiring manager and then they move, and you just see it exponentially grows and grows and grows over time. It's crazy. And it's a small world. As much as it's a big world at times, recruitment, it's a really small world if you let people down.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. You know, and I think that you just always got to be mindful of the relationships that you're building with people, the interactions you have, because, you know, it can be, not that I really agree with this, but it can be something super minor. Like if you've made a bad impression on someone and they know someone, and, you know, like they know someone, and then, you know, through the grapevine, you've got a little bit of a bad rep, you know. But then, like I said, it's such a minor number of candidates, and most of the time it is a wonderful experience, and they do respond really, really positively to the effort that I put in. Which is one of the things that I love about the job, is providing this amazing candidate experience and making people feel really, really looked after. So yeah.
And then give them a gift at the end of it. I mean, what more would you want?
Yeah, I haven't even talked about Reach Desk in recruitment yet, have I? I mean, I'm kind of dropping the ball there, but yeah, it's such an incredible tool. And this is one of the major use cases, I think, for the platform. You know, when you're in a really, really in a candidate market where, you know, people are really going above and beyond, one of the things that we do employ is utilizing the platform, sending a personalized gift, thanking them for their time, thanking them for doing a task for us, you know, introducing them into the business with a welcome gift. I mean, it's a small thing, right? It's not anything major. We're not exactly giving out like Apple Watches and stuff, or, you know, anything major, but it's the thought that counts. And it's one of those things where not many people are actually doing it, or they're doing it in a way that's super transactional. And, you know, like I know that like there are other platforms out there where it's like, well, you have to, in order to get your gift card, you have to book in this meeting. None of that with us. You know, it's all to enhance that amazing experience. And we want to demonstrate to you like that basically what it's like to work at Reach Desk. We demonstrate that from the first interview or the first interaction. So we want to kind of give you that Reach Desk experience. So yeah, it's incredible. And also, I mean, if you've got, I don't use it as much for prospecting as I would imagine you would. But, you know, if you've got really, really high value top talent that you're trying to get them to look at you and what you're doing, you know, their inbox is going to be full, their email inbox is going to be full. You know, what better way than to do a bit of research around them on social media, find out something that they like and pop them a voucher or pop them a gift to say like, look, please accept this gift from me to you. We'd love to have a conversation. If it's not the right time, fair enough. But then if it's not the right time, you know, you can just kind of follow up and nurture. You know, it's great. It really is.
It certainly worked for you and I, Claire, right?
Well, yeah, definitely.
You got us with the big hook.
Well, I think, also, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say it also feeds into, like, I remember we spoke about, like, there's this idea of the 2019 recruiter and then the 2022 recruiter.
Yeah.
So all the things that people were doing back in 2019, that's not working anymore. Like, it's now our job to engage the candidate. It's not about the candidate impressing us or the hiring manager anymore. Yeah. And that's where Reach Desk comes in, is it gives you that like little bit of extra mile to impress that candidate. And I know that you've said yourself that you've found that really useful. So
yeah, it's incredibly useful. And we're in this time now where recruitment is not send bulk messages out on LinkedIn. You know, this is a very, very strategic, targeted, multi-channel, multi-touch point process. And so, you know, within that process, being able to include something that is completely different that they probably wouldn't be expecting, like a gift, you know, it just makes it all the more special. And yeah, you know, if you are thinking about things in the 2019 way, in the sense of plonk a job ad up, hope people come into you, you're just not going to be able to scale. It's simple as that. You know,
I think about what you're saying, right? I mean, you clearly have this process, and a lot of people are still thinking pre-pandemic, you know, and sitting there wondering why is no one applying. You're doing all of those things, and you're still saying recruitment is difficult. Like to acquire top talent is still difficult. It doesn't make it easy, you know, but if you've not got that process and you've not got that strategic, personable mindset, you know, I don't know how anyone's getting success right now, because a lot of people are, you know, people aren't just going to a company now just because they have a brand name. There's so much more than that plays into it. So I think you're spot on.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's yeah, times have just changed, haven't they? I mean, there's obviously so much that goes into successfully hiring. You know, a lot of it is to do with your benefits package, or, you know, your culture, everything. But yeah, I think you have to start it off right with an incredible recruitment process that gets people excited, and that's how you are able to, you know, to bring the best people on board.
I was going to say, with such a robust process, it must be hard for an agency to impress you.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, yeah, I mean, I have worked with a couple of agency partners for a couple of roles. I mean, so we had pre-existing relationships with agency partners for BDRs and stuff before I came in, so I have been working with them. But yeah, like, in all honesty, it does take a lot to impress, and I do find that sometimes, you know, like, they've got opportunity. I think this is a reflection of how hard it is right at the moment, because, you know, in my mind, an agency should be working really, really hard to kind of bring you a constant stream of candidates, or at least have, you know, some of our agency partners, we're just not seeing that. And so I just think it shows how difficult it can be. But yeah, I mean, I think it is also very intelligent to utilize the right agency at certain times, because if you've got a really urgent hire, you're hiring for a very niche skill set, you know, seeking outside resource where there's a specialism within that skill set, or a specialism within that kind of, I mean, even like tech stack, for instance, you know, that I think is part of a robust talent strategy. But it's always about return on investment, isn't it? It's always about, like, you know, you want to be making sure that you're spending wisely. I mean, because talent is not a revenue generating department for most businesses, right? You have to be very mindful of the cost. But I think a great relationship with an agency for roles that are particularly challenging will pay off in the long run, you know?
Yeah, it's just about having someone slot in where you need them, but
yeah,
because obviously you don't need help with your process or your day-to-day strategy. It's like outlying situations that you need a bit of help with.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really cool to see agencies like you, who in my mind are at the forefront of, you know, recruitment, because I didn't recruit this way when I was in agency. I think it's quite rare, really. Yeah. I mean, agencies, they normally have a big database, and, you know, like, they kind of plonk people out and put them in. You know, sometimes it can be really bums on seats. You guys do exactly what we do, you know, that market mapping, that really in-depth understanding of the role, finding the right people that align really well with not only the job now, but what the job's going to grow into, the company now, but what the company is going to grow into. You know, you're looking at that long-term quality of hire, right? And so that's incredibly refreshing. And it's, you know, really, it's just really cool to be able to talk about this kind of thing with you guys, because I think that we hold very similar philosophies, and we're just all really passionate about what we do, right?
And, again, to me, this is this breath of fresh air part of it. I think there's got to be an openness and a flexibility for any business owner, heads of talent, that understand what gets them success. Today it might be you working on those 4 rows and filling the pipeline. Tomorrow there might be 10 on your desk, and you say, right, that's enough for me, and have I got the right partner at the right time? I think as well, part of what I liked about what you've said throughout the chat today is, I don't think you guys do things on hunch either. I think there's a data, there's an insights, there's a analytics piece to recruitment that wasn't quite there a few years ago, and I think is absolutely crucial now. But then the other aspect, and I think we've spoke about this before, Laura, is, to me, a 2022 recruiter should be thinking more like a sales team than a recruiter, right? Just with the touch points and what's required. Yeah,
I like to say hire like a BDR. I kind of want to trademark that. I think it's got quite a nice ring to it. But yeah, hire like a BDR, everything that they do. I work so closely with marketing. I'm like, give me data lists, give me lists of data of companies that, like I mentioned before, the technographics match what we want to do. It's just about being smart. I haven't even really spoken too much about data, but yeah, making data-driven decisions, looking at A/B testing your messaging, your response rates, really trying to nail down what's actually going to work. But the funny thing is, right? Oh, this is a trade secret. You're welcome, recruiters. The most effective, the most effective outreach message that you can do is going to be focused on the mission of the company, and just really just titillate. You're just trying to get them a little bit interested. Do not put a job spec in the first message. Do not have it. There's even a little counter on LinkedIn that tells you when it gets too long. Don't ignore it. Keep it simple. You're trying to tell a story. You're trying to get someone interested. So yeah, sorry, that was a bit of a rant then, but I'm very passionate about, being data driven as well, and testing things, and also changing your technique depending on what role you're doing. You're not going to be able to hire an engineer in the same way you're going to be able to hire a marketer. So you have to be agile, and you have to be, agile.
I think the part is, for me, you can have all the insights even in the world before you go into a search. You know the truth by the time you spoke to 10, 20 candidates, because they are telling you, whether what you're offering is the right benefits, is the right salary, the right flexible working environment. And I've said this a million times. I believe every role is fillable if the hiring manager and the business want to fill it. If you need an extra 5k to fill it and you don't pay that 5k, that's on you. If the data suggests that's the way it should be. So honestly, really like your just overall approach to recruitment and people in general.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that, because it's something that, doesn't everyone doubt themselves occasionally, right? And everyone feels sometimes that they're not doing a good job. But I feel like the response that I have from candidates, what, as part of the team I've been able to achieve at Reach Desk, I think it shows that doing at least something right. And I just hope to continue learning and growing in my career, and eventually I'm hoping to be right up there in the C-suite, in a big tech company, fingers crossed. Because
why not be ambitious though?
Exactly.
No reason why it couldn't happen. So
what are we doing otherwise, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I really, really appreciate just this opportunity as well. It's very cool, and I love what you guys are doing.
Awesome.
Listen, thank you so much for coming on, but don't go anywhere, because for our subscribers, we're going to have a quick addendum of your top 5 tips on how to hire at pace. So if you haven't subscribed, you can go now. You should probably go and subscribe. And then if you have subscribed, keep an eye on your inbox, because Laura's top 5 tips will be coming to you soon. Laura, it's been absolutely awesome having you on. Thank you so much for this. I know that I've personally taken away a few things, if I ever end up in recruiting, that I will be using. So yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And this has been an absolute blast.
Loved it. Thanks, guys.
Great. Have a good one.